have seized the Malaysian bulls and bears markets, Mr. Tan Teng Boo, right now on our live shows. Okay, so welcome Teng Boo. So thanks for attending the live. Do you have anything to share before we get into the topic?
Yeah, I think the talk on 29th October is not just about Malaysia's coming general election. It's a lot more than that. Yeah, the 29th October talk, just to clarify, will answer questions like how high will the US inflation rate go up to? How high will US interest rate go up to? How strong will the US dollar become? When will the Ukraine crisis end? Then when will China exit the dynamic zero COVID policy? So there's a multitude of complicated issues that we will be dealing with on 29th of October. But because the talk is focusing on Malaysia, Malaysian investors, Malaysian stock market, we have to add on, we have to layer upon this very complex global landscape the question of what will happen to the coming Malaysian election. Right? Who will win? Which party? Which personalities? Which political leaders are we going to have? And then, whatever the results may be, what will happen to the Malaysian economy? What will happen to the stock market? What will happen to your investment? So I think it's an event where it's a physical event, and we want the people to take part physically so that the question and answers can be extremely lively, extremely dynamic. Right? So of course, as Malaysian investors, one of the main focus would be what is going to happen in the coming election, and more importantly is what happens when the election results are all known. Yeah.
Sure. Okay. Thank you, Teng Boo. So I would like to actually say, if you have any questions and comments, please brush it up and do react and love and like and everything. So our question will be starting, since the topic is uncertainties, how will the 15th Malaysian General Election after the stock market? So the first question is, so do you think it is wise to actually hold GE15 until after the flood season? Or are political parties are more concerned to get it over or done with it first? So what do you think is the best move for the recent general election, Teng Boo?
The election has to be held by September next year. That's the official deadline. So you have from now, obviously you cannot have the election in September 2023, right? So if you take out the Christmas period, you take out Chinese New Year, you take out Hari Raya, you take out Malaysia Independence Day, over the next 10-11 months, you don't have many other periods left, right? First thing. And second thing is, the worry is that, there are signs, we're not sure whether it will materialize, but this is a question that we will deal with on 29th of October, whether there will be a global recession. If so, what will cause the global recession, and how serious will the recession be, right? And also then, should there be a serious recession, how will the recovery look like? So at that level, at the economics level, you find that there's so many question marks. So if I'm the incumbent government, if I'm the current administration, would I want to have an election when economic conditions are going to be so difficult, right? Already, people are feeling, well, in the case of Malaysia, because we have billions of subsidies, there's so much subsidies. So even though inflation now is so high, we've gone up to, I think the latest inflation figure is 4.7, right, which is because of the amount of subsidies that we have. So even with that, people, investors, Malaysian consumers are feeling the pinch. And if you're going to have an election where people are feeling the pinch and jobs are going to be lost soon, just after the 2020 recession of the pandemic, I think if I'm the current ruling government, I'll be very worried that I might not get the voters to support me. And then of course there's the other issue of floods. Whoever has been watching seriously climate change, climate change is a fact, extreme weather is a fact. It's not where can we still prevent it from happening. It's already past, it's already gone beyond that stage. You look at Malaysia, the weather now is different from past pattern. You look at Australia, Tasmania, Victoria, New South Wales are flooded at a time when it's not supposed to be flooding. So what are we going to do with floods? And if the meteorological department can be so sure that guarantee me that the flood is going to happen in this and this time, then of course I can avoid the flood. But look, what I'm trying to say is that there are pros for having the election next year. There are pros for having the election now. And I guess it's a question of whoever is calling the shot. In this case, the incumbent government is calling the shot, and they feel that it is best from their point of view. So, well, will the flood affect it? I am not a meteorologist, I'm not a climate scientist. Even if I am, I cannot say for sure that the day when you do the polling, when you cast your vote, it's not going to be the day when floods are going to happen.
Yeah. So, thank you, Ting-Bu. So, what do you think that after losing out to Taiwan, South Korea, Singapore and Vietnam over the past half century, is it possible to actually reverse the trend of national decline, or will we actually lose out to more countries, including Indonesia and the Philippines?
First, I have to have a disclosure of interest. I think Malaysia, whatever it is still the best country in the world. I've traveled, I do a lot of traveling. In my research, in my work, I traveled to US, I traveled to Europe, I traveled to China, I traveled to Australia, Singapore, and so on and so forth. I have even gone to a diamond mine in South Africa to do my research. At the end of the day, there's no country as beautiful as Malaysia, right? And because of that, I think it is a country that is worth fighting for. It is a country that is worth all the efforts, whatever we can do to make this country a much better country. And if you look at it that way, then the election, how we vote, how we decide, it cannot be just the government of the day. We have to be able to vote and bring in people, bring in political leaders, political parties that can look beyond this election, the next election, so that we can have the best country in the world and unlock all the potential that we Malaysians have. So to answer your question, yes, we have lost out to Singapore, we have lost out in economic terms, in a lot of educational progress, technology, lost out to Taiwan, South Korea, and looks like you're right, we soon could be losing out to Indonesia, because Indonesia since 15-20 years ago has gone very far ahead. That comes back to the question, how are we going to make sure that we reverse the decline and then unlock all the potential, all the assets that we Malaysians have, which is coming back to the coming election. And it's happening at a time when there are unprecedented global crises.
Yeah, sure. I do agree with Ting-Bu, and I think this is why we love Malaysia so much. And based on all these comments and all, we will actually select. So please brush up your comments and ask questions like, what are you really interested of the uncertainties in Malaysia and the future upcoming general election? So, Tingbu, so do you have any mind that any advice to give to the youngsters or our Malaysian voters too?
Okay. This year we have about 21 million voters for this election. Out of the 21 million plus, there will be about 5 million plus new voters. Basically people in the younger age, those, because it's the first time where people who are 18 years and above are allowed to vote. So you're going to have a lot of very young voters. And this question is a very important question because you're going to have 5 million plus first time voters, and in addition to that you're going to have people in their late 20s and all that. So you have a huge percentage of the voters that are in this young age. And that makes it even more important that the voters make judgment not based on whether you're going to get free water, free toll, for your express, or lower road tax, or that kind of short-term goodies. You, as a responsible voter, because whoever you choose, whatever you decide, or whoever you choose not to vote or support, will determine your long-term future, right? 20, 30 years from now, will Malaysia be ahead of Taiwan and Korea? Or 20, 30 years from now, will Malaysia be even behind Somalia? And that depends on how this big cohort of young Malaysian voters vote, which means how they think, how they decide, and the ability to look beyond the little goodies that, all in every democracy, in every election, all the political parties will always promise you short-term goodies, whether it's in Japan, whether it's in Australia, UK. You look at the mess Britain is in. Britain is almost on the economy is on the verge of collapse. So, if voters, we can blame our leaders that they are bad leaders, but who chose them? Who put them in there in the first place? The voters. So, you're right to point out the strategic importance, the long-term strategic importance of these young voters, because for once, they will determine what the future of this Malaysia will be like. Yeah? And I really would want them to have good discussions, open discussions, frank discussions, whether you agree or disagree, to get to the best possible decision that they can make.
Wow, yeah, this is really a good advice to us and to our youngsters and our voters of Malaysia.
And the other thing is, come on and vote. Don't, people are worried about low turnout, that the floods may affect the low turnout, right? So if it is flooding and there's low turnout, what that means is that there are actually voters turning out to vote, isn't it right? So if there are voters turning out to vote during flood, why can't the rest also turn out to vote? So the higher the percentage of voters voting, the more accurate, the more representative the results will be. That is important.
Yeah, I can't agree more with Tingbu, and this is really a good advice to us. So I saw a lot of comments on our Facebook and YouTube. So we will have some questions on what will happen to the budget 2023 if other parties win the election, and we will have wow, if you Tingbu are made for the PM, what will be the top 3 problems facing Malaysia that you will focus on solving? And also we have comments on regardless of who wins, do you think that Malaysia will be the following steps of UK with a huge mistrust in the next government, such as what has happened with all those cabinets and her recent dismissals of former finance minister and all. So yeah, we have a lot of questions, so just keep the question going. And so Tingbu, what do you think?
Just to comment on the budget, well, it really depends on who wins, right? So if you have a new government, you have a new budget. If you have the same barisan coming in, then it really depends on the components of this new Barisan Nasional, because We do not know who will be inside there, whether PAS will still be inside there, whether Bersatu will still be inside. So chances of a new budget are pretty high. It's the political landscape that Malaysia has been facing since the last 4 or 5 years is unprecedented. We have so many political parties, right, big and small, and within each political party we have so many factions. So you have a situation that's like Italy, for example, or some of the democracies where you keep on having indecisive election results. So the budget is a function of who comes in.
Sure. Okay. So we will have like questions of, is it likely that Malaysia's weak political stabilities remain the status quo posed on GE15? Are there any reason for Malaysians to be hopeful about our future, or should we really invest in Bursa Malaysia?
Okay, those questions, I think, is not easy to be able to answer in just 1 or 2 minutes, right? But just a very quick food for thought. There will always be good companies on Bursa Malaysia to invest in. I mean, we have about 1,000 companies. Some are really rotten, some are so-so average, some are good, and they are world-class. So I think there will be always investing opportunities on Bursa Malaysia. It's just depending on the price that you pay, you know. I mean, if you buy Top Glove at 9 ringgit and now at 60 cents, of course, you'll be cursing and swearing, correct? But that really depends on how you choose. That depends on what your investment strategy is, because investment losses can occur not because of election result. It most likely will occur because you have the wrong investment strategy, you pick the wrong company, or you're not patient, or you're not disciplined, and so on and so forth. So a lot of those factors are within your control. And if you are not well versed, if you're not experienced, if you don't have the necessary skills to choose and how to invest, then the best thing is to learn, to be educated. And I think I wouldn't want to be boasting, but like what you said earlier, I'm the only, that's how old I am anyway, I'm the only Malaysian fund manager that has seen all the bear markets. From the first one in 1973, where the index, there was no KLCI at that time, where the index, the bear market was about 2 over years, and the index dropped about 70%. That is a horrendous bear market. Are we going to see one? I don't know. But in that kind of situation, there'll be a lot of stocks to invest and choose. So I think to answer your question, the important thing is you as a potential investor or existing investor is to arm yourself, equip yourself with the necessary skills, the necessary qualities to be a good investor. And that is something that is within your control.
Yeah, true. And really, I myself, like 24 years old, I have been attending a lot of like investment talk, and this is why we need to learn about investment. And start from young. For those parents who are really interested, bring your child along to actually attend our investment talk, so that you will know what's Tingbu insights on the current investment and the global economy. So, we have a question. There are much intention to participate in voting process. So many opinions on what can be improved, but the critical factors still remain. Availability of capable Malaysians running the choice of politics party to implement changes. So what can be actually done to address all this?
I think you will find that in every country, in every election, there will always be this question of who is the most capable person to vote for, to choose for. And look, we do not know. At the moment, from what we can see on the surface, we don't seem to have anyone that's capable of commanding not a 2/3 majority, but even a simple majority. We don't have anyone that's able to do that. And even if that person is able to command a simple majority, is that leader and effective? Not only a political leader, but a statesman. So on the surface, it looks as if we don't have those, right? But there are a number of the oldies where you know that you cannot vote for them. For example, this candidate who's going to stand in Langkawi. We shouldn't vote for him. He's already been standing for so many elections and has made so many mistakes. And why are we still voting for him? You may not know who to vote, but you know who not to vote for. So is this guy who is going to be so proud that he's going to be the oldest candidate, why are we still making the same mistake, voting him in, right? Why don't we give, there are so many new candidates, younger ones, or first-timers, that we might be able to give them a chance. At least we know that, we do not know whether they turn out to be good, but at least we know that they won't turn out to be bad. Correct? So the question of who to vote for, who's going to emerge, I think depends on whether the voters are prepared to open your minds, open your ears, open your eyes, listen, observe, right? And then make your judgment. Like I said, you cannot look at short-term goodies. A lot of voters, I know, we are facing difficult times. People are under pressure to deal with day-to-day cost of living pressure. But this is not the time to give in to this kind of short-term pressures.
Yeah. So the next question is, Malaysia issue is no visionary and strong leadership standing out to drive longer-term nation interest policy, but more responding to short-term demands of personal interests or racial and religious demands. So what are the views on why we are missing this? Anything to comment?
Yeah, I think that's a great question, you know. The bunch of politicians, generally speaking, I'm not saying all politicians are like that now, but you can see it, many of the politicians seem to be very obsessed with short-term kind of benefits, right? So we got to ask ourselves, how did we arrive at this? How did we arrive at this kind of situation? If you remember, in the previous general election, right, when we had GST, and then the opposition at that time promised that they will abolish GST immediately they come in. So that is an example of giving in, making a decision. That means the voters making a decision based on very faulty reasoning, on short-term kind of considerations, and foregoing the longer-term type of interest, which is you have the SST versus the GST, right? And had the politicians been honest, I mean, look, it's very hard to find honest politicians, right? So the onus of responsibility really lies with the voters to open your mind, to read widely, to understand the issues better. So in the case of GST, the voters would have already seen that why are there so many countries in the world that have implemented GST? I mean, these countries are not your basket case zombie type countries. These are countries like Australia, Singapore, well-managed economies, they have GSTs. So if those countries are having GST, why are we in Malaysia not having a GST? Why are we coming back with SST? So the people who asked for GST to be abolished, were they doing it just for political reason? So because if you have GST, at that time nobody knew that the pandemic was going to hit, right? So when the pandemic hit, at least the federal government, the central government has got a solid, strong revenue base, which means that in difficult times, when external crisis hit, then the economy can ride through it without creating long-term adverse consequences. Those are things that voters, I have to admit that it is difficult because the political leaders and their advisors and all that will create all kinds of noises, and it's very hard to distinguish the noises from the real facts. It's very difficult, especially if you're just an ordinary voter. But look, there's no other choice. So there's no other path where you can say, okay, this is the truth, and therefore I just listen to that, because there's going to be so many people claiming to presenting truth to you.
So we need to be the truth seekers and go to our investment talk, or even like attend a lot of like a global economic outlook talk, so that we are more exposed to all those knowledge. Yeah. So I can't agree more, and we will proceed. Oh, I saw a comment on like talking about what are the price on our investment talk. So actually the talk will be a part 2, and it is the investment talk that you should attend now. So the original price, you can actually link to our event page to know about it. And we will have a very special discount code. So if you saw like our comments on that, so you can actually key in the discount code, and you will get a very special price from you. So thanks for attending this talk.
No,
so,
I just want to add on to that, because we had a talk in March this year where we dealt with a lot of complicated issues, where we told participants in that talk, even at that time, this was March this year when top glove was at 176. At that time, we even told them, please sell all your glove stocks, right? And whoever listened to me would have saved at least 70% losses. So this October 29th talk is a sequel, it's an update, and it will cover additional issues like the Ukrainian crisis and so on, and the Malaysia General Election. So in terms of pricing, now the standard price is 2,000 ringgit, right? But if you're a customer, if you're a client of Capital Dynamics, it drops. There is a huge discount, right? It goes down to, there's a 60% discount. So if you're a customer of Capital Dynamics, you just have to pay 800 ringgit. Now, how to be a customer? Straightforward. You can invest in our funds, many of our funds, right? You can be a shareholder of iCapital.biz Berhad, or the cheapest way to be our customer is to subscribe to our newsletter, to subscribe to iCapital.biz. The subscription for iCapital.biz, the digital version, is only 49 ringgit a year. The full package where you have digital plus print is only 99 ringgit per year. So to be able to get a 60% discount or a savings of 1,200 ringgit, you just subscribe to iCapital, either 49 ringgit or 99 ringgit. So that's how the pricing works.
yeah, sure. So this is our investment talk, and we got a question from our YouTube: which stock would you recommend investor buy in the coming months? So we would like to advocate, please join our investment talk so that you will know about it and you will know what is the outlook. So
I think we don't have a policy, we don't have this practice of just giving you a tip.
Yeah.
We can give a tip, we can buy ABCD Berhad, but that's not the correct way, because we also like to not just catch the fish for you, we also like to teach our participants how to catch the fishes, right? So when we recommend a stock, or when we recommend, for example, in the case in March 20, in the March talk this year, when we said sell the glove stocks, we give very comprehensive, we give very in-depth reasoning, in-depth analysis why you should sell glove stocks. So it cannot be just, oh, buy ABCD, the why. Why are you doing it? Why you should be doing it, or why you shouldn't be doing it? The why is more important than the tip itself. Because after the tip we give you, then what happens if the stock price drops? Are you going to come back for another tip? That's not the way. So we give you the reasoning, the analysis, the research, so that after the talk you can still make a good judgment, a good decision.
Yeah, thank you, Tingbu. So we have another very popular question coming out. Is like, you are the only Malaysian fund manager who experienced all the bear markets. So you started investing at 19 years old?
Yes, I started investing even younger than that. I started investing when I was 17 years old.
Oh, so what is your first investment at that age?
At that time, no. I don't buy any stocks. I was just a student. I'm still a student of the stock market. 50 odd years later, I'm still a student. I don't think anyone can really graduate from the stock market. But in 71, 72, I mean, it was a very speculative time, and I was in my O levels, Form 5, and you just sit down and observe as a bystander. But I was just helping my father. He was investing. He was the one who introduced me to stock market investing, and he told me that it is compulsory for me to learn how to invest in the stock market. So I was helping him to monitor, to do research, and so on and so forth. But yeah, we look at things like Hoffa. At that time, it was very hot. We look at Sandabi. Sandabi is very different. At that time, it was very hot. It was under a takeover rate. Hoffa and Sandabi were under corporate rates from the UK, the London Voice at that time.
Yeah, so that's the end of our section. So before getting into the end of our section, so we would like Tingbu to actually choose the best comment on our YouTube and Facebook to give away a very special book that Tingbu selected. So,
oh, geez, I can't remember the questions. There are so many, there's so many questions. But they are all good questions. So how many questions do we have?
We have 24 questions here.
Okay, but how many did I answer?
I think we answered like roughly 10 questions, around 10 questions. So
from what I can see, I think the one that's from Ellen Farm, right? And then this CA Lim, correct? I think those two were very good questions. Very good questions. Yeah.
Oh,
because
so
they touch on, for example, this question from CA Lim touch on the difficulties of making a decision, which is, yes, that is the biggest problem voters are facing now. I think that's a very good question.
Yep.
And the one from Alan Pan as well.
So we are giving two
why not?
two books.
Yeah.
Wow, congratulations! Because right now we have like two special prizes for our giveaway, and our moderator will contact you soon. So stay tuned for our post for the giveaway book. And so once again, please follow and like and share our Facebook Live so that we hope to see you on our next investment talk.
So are we going to have a regular Facebook Live?
Oh yeah, we are having a Saturday live. So every weekly you will saw our poster. It will be on a weekly basis on Saturday 11 a.m. So stay tuned, and the topic will be very a big range of topic. So if you would like to know more about the topic, or you would suggest the topic, comment on our live, and we will actually do a live section for that.
Yeah, please suggest topics, because I love to talk about climate change, I love to talk about US-China relationship, I love to talk about Malaysia's political outlook, economic outlook, I love to talk about investing, I love to talk about a lot of things. So please suggest.
Yeah, so thank you Tingbu for the live section, and everyone, we same day, same time, you can actually follow up on our Facebook and YouTube, so that see you on our 39 investment talk, and take care and enjoy your weekend. Thank you. Thank you Tingbu. Yeah.
Bye bye.